This video is taking you through how we framed our side flares to create, in effect, a sleeping pod. If you're not sure what side flares are, or you don't know whether to install them, or don't know what the benefit is, I'd suggest possibly watching another video that we did, which was about installing the side flares, and that just goes through that kind of information in a bit more detail. We'll try and put a link, but we're not 100% sure how that works, but we'll figure it out. If not, then I'll put it in the bio, also the video description, sorry. So, as a refresher, we have a medium wheelbase Sprinter van. We felt that it was going to be too intrusive for us to install a bed lengthways, and for it to fit DVLA requirements, check out what those are, just to make sure that you do fit that if you want to officially or legally classify it as a camper, and also to fit a 6'2" person in, Joe. We decided it would be more comfortable to put side flares in.
Now, installing the fiberglass flare on the outside is one thing, but actually boxing this out is quite another, and really, well, we found it quite difficult to do. So there was a lot of trial and error involved. So what we're about to show you is not something that we're suggesting is the absolute best thing to do, but because we haven't found many or really any examples of how people were able to box theirs out to create this width in their van, we thought we'd share just in case it was useful for anybody else looking at smaller wheelbase vans who needed to create the extra width. Overall, we're happy with the result. We know it isn't perfect, but we're first time builders, and therefore I don't think anything was going to be perfect, but if you look at them now, you know, it does create a lot of extra room. So here's how we did it. First we started to use, or build I should say, a box, just a box that we would insert into here, and then the ply would kind of sit over the top. It didn't really work to be blunt. It because the van it's wider down here and narrower up there. The flares, they drop about 5 centimeters from one side to the other, and so it really just didn't work. So the best idea that I've come up with basically is to box out this whole thing. So create a bit of, or cut a bit of ply to the right length, and then cut a hole in the middle of it that basically represents the flare, which will then be boxed really with some finishing ply around the inside edge, and then a little kind of frame over the top to hide that join and support it all. I'm going to start making that properly today. Obviously we've got one roughly in place here. It's still a bit low, it needs to be moved up and just trimmed off at the top. And I'll quickly sort of show you the gubbins of how we do that on this side. And so first of all, you'll see this beam at the bottom here, and that is kind of about 144 millimeters in width, and then behind that is a bit of 2x2 shaped to the right size to fit behind, so because it gets narrower down here, there's been a slot cut out of it and a little bit planed off the bottom, and then we've cut the furring strips to overhang slightly, which gives us something to screw the ply to further down, and then the cutout of the ply that we've done to cut the hole will sit behind here. And then obviously, like I said before, we're going to box around the edges and create that frame. Okay, so the next stage of how I'm building out these flare boxes is to then cut the insert, the bit that was cut out of the fascia, into the back of the van, and it just needs trimming around the edges just so it fits natural curves of the van, and obviously any of the silver bit then gets hidden away by the side bits. So I'm just gonna do that now. To secure this backboard area, we stuck some MDF bits to the inside of the flare so that we could create an air gap for the insulation. Because we weren't using very thick insulation, we created that air gap so that it would work better, essentially. But inadvertently, that provided a nice part that we could screw this board into, because otherwise I don't think we would have been able to do it this way. It took a while, but got that sheet in. It's one of those processes that feels like the more you cut off, the bigger it's getting. But if you stick with it, it goes in eventually. Made these side bits, which today I'm going to secure. And what I did yesterday and left them to dry is to create these little widgets and stuff that they can stick to. I don't know if you can see that one up there, and then some there for the top. Now you start to get a sense of the extra width that the flares create. Morning. It's February the 12th and it's bloody freezing. But one thing I would say is that it's really warm in the van. Now all the insulation and stuff's on. It's noticeably warmer in here than it is outside, or even just in the garage. When working in the garage, it's a lot cooler in there than it is in here, so that's quite nice. But today we're going to finish off, or I'm going to finish off one of these flares. The sections for under here are cut, and there's going to be a light under here, and there's also going to be a 12-volt charging point. So I've got to wire those up now. So I'm going to get the wires in for that. Then we're going to put the wood on underneath, and then I've got a cutout that I've made that's going to go over these joints to hide these gaps. Hopefully, well, it will hide them, but hopefully it will look good when it's done. And then I've just put a couple of edging strips along here. Okay, so I've stuck the light onto the strip that's going to go up under there, and now I've just got to connect the wires up, and then I'll stick it up and try and get this end into there afterwards. Wish me luck. We're going to need some screws. Screws was the better choice. So I've just tested and loosely fitted the second piece, and you can see there's the socket. It's going to be hanging down from the corner. And the light under that one. Got to just drill a pilot hole in it and put some construction adhesive on. Connect the cables and then put it up. To attach this frame cutout, we used a combination of construction adhesive and veneer pins. We used the veneer pins instead of screws, just so you couldn't really see the screws on the top, because it's not very easy to sink screws into this 5mm ply. It was a little bit tricky, to be honest, because this area does bounce a little bit when you're trying to hit it with a hammer. So although it did work, it was a little bit tricky. I would suggest putting a few more, or maybe a strip of batten or furring strip kind of connected to all of the ones hanging down along the back, so that it doesn't bounce when you hit it. And we just brought a battery down to test if the light works for the flares that we fitted, or that we finished boxing out yesterday. It's very crudely wired up, and my little Eskimo is here to try and turn it on.
It's so cold, really cold.
Can you try and turn it on, Eskimo? Hey! Oh, got a cool reading light.
Yep, maybe.
There's a switch on that. Did you turn it on?
No. Oh, the light goes on.
Ah. Yay.
Yay!
Oh, just as well, because she's nearly dead.
I'm not. My phone is.
Phone's nearly dead.
Okay, so we've obviously taken you through how we box the flares out, or how Joe boxed the flares out. So it's given us roughly about 190 centimetres from wall to, or I suppose outside of the flare to outside of the flare, and then about 135, 140-ish centimetres from the back of the flare to the front of the flare, and that's just over a UK sized, a UK double bed. A double-sized UK bed? A UK bed that's a double. Anyway, you get the gist. Yeah, it fits in just slightly bigger than a UK double bed. We're really, really pleased with it. It leaves us a lot of room for the kitchen. Obviously we can take you through that once we've completed that. But yeah, we're really, really happy with it. So hope you found this useful. We're still quite early on the YouTube journey, so please feel free to subscribe, like any of our videos. Feel free to leave any comments as well if you've got any questions, and we're absolutely more than happy to answer those. But any help to share the love and subscribe to our channel would be enormously appreciated. Thank you.
I think I broke that.